I'm delighted to have him on, though. It's always good to get a different perspective. Ian Blackford, SNP MP and leader of the SNP in Westminster, usually talks to peers, but he's on my show. Ian Blackford, good morning. How are you?
Jeremy, I'm just so pleased to be on with you.
Good man. Thank you very much indeed. You must be quite pleased with yesterday's announcement, because am I the only person who thought it was a bit un-Tory-like?
Well, I think that the harsh reality, and just hearing from Joe there, this actually is going to hurt people over the course of the next couple of years. He was talking about the tax increases that are there, but it's that cost of living crisis and the fact that people are going to be materially poorer, Jeremy. That's 7% on average hit. But that's massive. And, you think about the energy cap and the fact it's going to be there at £3,000 from next April. What does that mean? That actually means that people are going to be paying about 3 times more for their energy costs than they were 18 months ago. You've got a budget that's actually, the effect of it is going to restrict the ability of the people in the middle that you were referring to go out and spend cash.
Let's talk very briefly on several things. Are you satisfied in the rise in windfall tax on the oil companies, 25, I think, to 35, or did you want and expect more?
No, there had to be more because, again, it comes down to this political choice because the net effect of all of this, and you can see from the Office of Budget Responsibility document, there's actually a £30 billion cut to public spending that's coming. Talking about the black hole you were just referring to.
Yeah.
When you think about windfall taxes, and just think about this, you think about oil and gas companies and others that have made enormous eye-watering profits as a consequence of the effect of higher oil and gas prices. Now, one of the effects of that, Jeremy, is that we've seen £55 billion of share buybacks this year in the UK. So what does that mean? That's money that's gone back to shareholders in effect. In lieu of dividends, if you want. None of that is taxed. And I think people would be quite surprised at that, because what we could have done and said, OK, this is money that the likes of BP and Shell are returning to shareholders. They're not investing. It's windfall profits. If we tax these share buybacks as a one-off measure, then you could have brought in as much as £11 billion. Where was the tax?
Sorry, mate. Yeah. No, I agree. I haven't got all the time, and I want to throw several things at you. National minimum wage, $9.50 to $10.42. Enough? Should it be more? How would you pay for more?
Well, look, at the end of the day, we need to make sure that people can earn enough in work that they can afford to have a reasonable standard of living. And what we should be looking is at the minimum wage foundation. And let's make sure that people can actually put food on the table. They can send their kids to school with full stomachs. They can turn the heating on.
How do you pay for more? How do you pay for more, though? How do we increase it?
Because that's the obligation that we have as a society. I mean, I remember coming into Parliament in 2015, Jeremy, and one of the first things that I faced was a government that wanted to cut working tax credits. But if you think about this, if the government is having to bail out companies because people aren't earning enough to be able to afford the basics, then there's something wrong. So we need to make sure that the taxation system and the support mechanisms that we have in place allow people that are working hard to be able to have a decent standard of living. So there's a whole fundamental question about how we do this. What is the point about work? Work has to pay.
I agree.
So we need to make sure that the living wage does that.
The other thing that we've heard this morning, I've only got a minute, Ian, I really appreciate you being on, is real anger at that little stealthy, well, it was really sneaky, that fuel hike, 12p. That was right down at the bottom. That comes in March. That's going to affect small businesses, individuals. I think that's a major, major problem for the Tories, don't you?
Of course it is. But the sadness out of all of this, everything that's happening, is that there's nothing here that indicates that you're going to get growth because people are getting squeezed. And if I can, Jeremy, I'll just mention the B word, because we now know that Brexit's really hurting. We know that it's reduced the economy. It's going to reduce the economy by 4%. That's the harsh reality of why we've got austerity. This is about political choices and the fact that the government have let the people down.
Ian, I'd love to talk to you all morning. I really appreciate it. That's one on the thing for me against Piers Morgan. We'll speak to you very soon, Ian Blackford.